Hello everyone, Vincent Teo from HDTV Test here. I'm a display reviewer and professional calibrator. I'm here in London attending BenQ's launch event for the W2700 and also the W5700 4K DLP projectors for the year 2019. Now, in the North American market, these will be known as the HT3550 and also the HT5550 respectively. Now, what is compelling about these projectors is BenQ's commitment towards color fidelity. Basically, they have coined this term cinematic color to drive home the point that they are trying their best to deliver colors that are faithful to the intent of the directors and the producers. So as you probably will know from watching my channel, I'm a really big fan of authentic and realistic color reproduction. And what BenQ is reassuring us with regards to the W2700 and also the W5700 is that with each projector that they send out to customers, each projector will actually be calibrated at factory, and they will be calibrated to D65 white point, which is the industry standard for the film and broadcast industry, and they're targeting a delta error of less than 3, which is generally regarded as imperceptible to the human eye in real-life content, and a report will be sent together with the projectors when you actually buy them. So from the color fidelity front, from the creative intent front, I'm extremely happy about this move that is being done by BenQ. It shows that they are really taking accurate color reproduction seriously, and they have coined this term cinematic colors. The W2700 or the HT3550 will have a DCI-P3 color gamut coverage of 95%, whereas the bigger brother, the W5700, will have a DCI-P3 color gamut coverage of 100%, giving you a full coverage of the entire DCI-P3 color gamut. Now, the reason why there's a slight discrepancy between the color gamut coverage is because the lens on the W2700 is slightly to the side, whereas the lens on the W5700 is central, giving you a bit more headroom to achieve a wider color gamut, hence the 100% DCI-P3 color gamut coverage. When you try to achieve this sort of wide color gamut, a filter needs to be actually put into the light path, and therefore we can probably expect a light loss. The Lumens output we've been quoted for the W2700 is around 2000 ANSI lumens, whereas the Lumens output for the W5700 is around 1800 lumens. I'll come to the reason why there's a slight discrepancy there as well. It is because of the target audience. But when BenQ's engineers and executives gave us a presentation today, they admitted that by moving the color filter in place for the W5700, the light output will drop from around 1800 lumens to 600 or 700 lumens, meaning that you're probably losing more than half the light. But they believe that this is a worthwhile sacrifice to achieve a wider color gamut, more saturated colors that give the 4K Blu-rays, the UHD content, that sort of vibrance, that sort of richness that many of you probably will crave for. Now, before I forget, let's talk about HDR. There will be support for the static metadata HDR10 format, and there will be support for the hybrid log gamma or HLG broadcast-friendly format. With regards to the static metadata, what BenQ has done is to actually put dynamic irises on both the W2700 and also the W5700. Now, the dynamic iris, it is an on-off toggle. You can't really adjust its intensity or the aggressiveness of how it's actually clamped down. But what they're telling me is that there will be some sort of tone mapping going on these projectors as well. So what these projectors will do is to read the static metadata, for example, max CLL, max FALL, mastering display luminance on the disc itself, and then generate a tone curve that will be suitable to be projected on screen. And depending on the light output that is required for a particular scene, the dynamic iris will act automatically to either clamp down for darker scenes or to open up for brighter scenes to give you more of a HDR effect. BenQ was really quite honest during this presentation. They used the term Projector Optimized Hdr to describe the HDR performance of the W2700 and also the W5700, and I fully applaud them for it, because realistically, a projector is never going to reach the light output that an OLED or a full array local dimming LED LCD is capable of. So Projector Optimized Hdr is exactly the right term to use, but they will be using, first of all, a dynamic iris, and also secondly, a customized tool mapping algorithm for each title. So depending on the static metadata of each title, a new tone curve will be generated for the entire title, not on a scene-by-scene basis or even a frame-by-frame basis, but for the entire title, there will be a separate set of static metadata being generated from what is being read on disk. And based on these two components, BenQ believe that they can actually produce a projector optimized HDR that is significantly better than what its competitors are doing. So I've covered colors, I've covered HDR. Let's talk a bit about the DLP chip that is actually on these projectors. So this will be using the new TI or Texas Instrument 0.47-inch DMD chip that actually tries to produce a 4K resolution by flashing the DMD mirrors faster. And the thing about resolution is that obviously some people will claim that this is not a true 4K projector, because when you talk about true 4K projectors, we're thinking about the Sonys, we're thinking about the latest JVCs. But resolution is only a small part of the picture, and when you look at the picture that is being shown by these projectors, you will see that it is actually extremely sharp, because first of all, it is a single chip DLP projector, and then the lens itself is actually of a very high quality as well, because we are talking about, on the W2700, we're talking about an all-glass lens that has 10 elements split into 8 groups, whereas on the W5700, we are talking about an all-glass lens with 11 elements split into 6 groups. And the image projected during this presentation, despite that it is not in an environment that I would like to have control of, it looked, as sharp as I can actually expect from a TI-based 4K projector. One thing that I need to mention is that previous TI projectors have always suffered from this gray borders around the projected image, but I don't see that anymore on the W2700 and also the W5700, because they are using a new next generation TI, albeit still 0.47-inch DMD chipset from Texas Instrument. So that is at least one benefit that you can actually expect from the W2700 and the W5700 compared with, let's say, last year's BenQ W2700. Because this is a DLP projector, it uses an RGBRGB color wheel, which I think BenQ said that they have actually sourced very meticulously to make sure that it is of the highest quality. I really just love the term RGBRGB, the sort of phrase, so good they named it twice. But the color wheel is of critical importance to any DLP projectors, because it actually generates the color depending on how it spins. So BenQ is committed to actually sourcing the highest quality RGBRGB color wheel. Now, during the presentation, I didn't really see any rainbow effect when I watched a few demo clips, but then I'm not really sensitive to rainbow effect anyway, so your mileage may actually vary. With regards to the general design of the projector, you can see from the camera that this BenQ projector is actually fairly small in footprint. It has a matte white finish because BenQ has designed this W2700 projector, or HT3550, to be used more in a living room environment where there is probably more of an ambient light going on, rather than in a dedicated dark theater room, which the W5700 is aimed at. So you can see a matte white finish that is fingerprint proof on the BenQ 2700, and in the front you can see a really premium looking fascia that contains the BenQ logo, and thoughtfully BenQ has also put a cover to prevent light spillage from the lens itself down to either the ceiling, if you actually ceiling mount it, or down onto the coffee table, that will pollute any sort of image that is being projected on screen. As you know, light control is of extreme importance when you are trying to get the most pristine image from a projector, the highest picture quality. So if you come around the back, you will probably be able to see that, again, the rear of this projector is also quite nicely finished. It's probably one of the nicest looking rear that I've seen, maybe up there in the class of Kylie Jenner, who is, of course, a self-made billionaire. Self-made, just like how I actually cook my Instant Pot noodles. But From the point of view of the ports, there is a single USB 3.0 port, and the good news is that BenQ is allowing for a firmware update through the USB key, so there's no like wrangling about with IP, wrangling about with serial cable to try and update this projector. You can just plug in a USB key to perform a software upgrade, and also through the USB port there is a media player that is compatible with most of the formats on the market, for example MKV. So in theory you don't even need a separate dedicated player to play your media files on the projector. You can just plug a USB key in. One last thing that I need to mention again about the W2700 is the speakers, because this is designed as sort of all-in-one solution. So there is inbuilt speaker on the BenQ W2700, and it is not going to rival the sound that is produced by your regular soundbars or dedicated home theater system, but at least it pumps out decent dialogue intelligibility. From what I heard today, it is a dual 5-watt speaker, I'm led to believe. If you remember the history of BenQ, one projector that has always been close to my heart is basically the W1070. If you are a fan of that projector, you'll be pleased to know that the W2700 will feature the same throw as the W1070, which means that you can actually cast a 120-inch picture from less than 10 feet away, making it fairly flexible to be placed in your living room, either on a coffee table or if you are so inclined to actually ceiling mount it. Let's go and talk a bit about the W5700 then, because it is catered to more of a home enthusiast audience. So it has a matte black finish, it has more flexible lens shift, it will also have a dust hood to protect the lens from the dust falling off from the ceiling if you actually ceiling mount it. But because it is meant to be used in a darker theater room, maybe even a bat cave, the Lumens output is not as high as the W2700. When it comes to availability, both projectors will be available at the end of March, maybe early April. And the price of the BenQ W2700 will be sitting around 1,600 euros, whereas the W5700 will be sitting around 2,600 euros, basically 1,000 euros extra. It's exciting to see BenQ launching these two projectors in the very competitive 4K DLP projector space, and I think that they have enough USP or unique selling proposition to do very well here, because I'm really liking the calibrated color performance. Obviously I will need to actually test this thoroughly when I get a review sample in, but I like that they are taking color calibration seriously at factory, sending out a calibration report with each unit, and I'm liking the higher DCI-P3 color gamut coverage, which I never thought was possible at this sort of price point, and dynamic iris being included as well. With regards to motion, again, I keep forgetting things. Motion, there is actually motion-compensated frame interpolation technology implemented on both projectors as well. So maybe you don't want to engage it for watching movies because of soap opera effect or SOE, but maybe you would like to engage it for watching sports or other video-based content to achieve higher motion resolution. But again, I'll need to actually test all this when I actually get a review unit in. If you found this video useful, please click the like button and subscribe to the HDTV Test YouTube channel for more videos like this. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.